I've always had mixed feelings for players who would play a particular game for like 2,000 hours, 1,500 hours, 1,000 hours, even 900 hours. Yeah, I said even 900, like 900 hours isn't a lot of fucking hours to dump into any singular thing. But it was like, I've always had mixed feelings because on one end, I'm like, what the fuck else do they do with their lives if they're dumping this much time into a video game? And then the other side of me is like, that's pretty cool that they found something that they enjoy so much that they're willing to spend this much time on it. It's like calculable, if that's a word. If not, I just made that shit up. But you can calculate how many hours you spent on this and look back because, usually when you're enjoying something and you're having a lot of fun with it, you're not, time flies, right? When you're having fun, you're not really calculating it. You're just so in the moment, you're just having so much fun. But with video games, you can actually you can see how many hours you've logged into it. And sometimes it'll even take you aback, right? Like you'll be like, God damn, I had no idea I spent this many hours. And then sometimes you're very well aware. You're like, yeah, that's right. I spent this many hours on it. I can't make up my mind on it. I think it's cool that someone loves a game that much. They're willing to do that, spend so much time with it. And then another side of me is just like, I can't do it. Even if I tried, it's not even like I refuse to do it. I've got better and more constructive things to do. It's not even like that. It's just like I tried, right? Like I've already said this millions of times, but like, Bethesda games are like my favorite games. Like I don't I can't explain to you how much of that is nostalgia or how much of that is genuine, like, wonder at their craftsmanship, like of building worlds and characters. I think it's both of them, to be honest with you, because I would say that like Oblivion and Mass Effect and Dragon Age, but let's go slow here. I would say Oblivion is the first game that I've ever played where I was like literally in awe. Like, when I stepped out of that sewer after creating your character and just this bright and beautiful, and the grass is like this ultra HD green and the sky is vibrant, and that's when it hits. Well, it hit me because I've never played games of that scale before, to PC players as well as anyone who's into a genre of video games that typically have these gigantic landscapes and stuff, wide panoramic. Fuck that word up. Panoramic. That might be the word. That one. Big fucking wide shots. To them, it may be nothing. It's like, oh, Elder Scrolls Oblivion is just another one of those games. But to me, it was like my first one, and I remember just falling in love. I know that sounds fucking corny, but it's the truth. Like I remember just going like, wow, like I never want to stop playing this game, and I can't tell you how many hours I logged into that, but it was so many, and I was just enthralled the entire way. I was reading like the instruction manual just to see if I can master. I wanted to master the game. Like I didn't want to just play it. I wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to know the background stories to NPCs. I wanted to know about cities and customs and different race theories and Deidras, and it was insane, man. It was a world that I've never ever experienced before. Coming from games that are relatively traditional single player linear games where you start at the beginning and then you finish at the end, and it's always the conclusion is always nicely gift wrapped to you, oftentimes very predictable. And even games like that I love, I find myself like there's a limit, like after so much time, and it's not even like as many hours as I named earlier, definitely not 900. I can't say that I've played any game for 900 hours, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76, of all the Fallouts, I think I logged in somewhere close to 500 hours. That might not even be true. I'm almost tempted to check. As a matter of fact, I am gonna check as I'm trying to multitask here, which I'm not fucking good at. I played it on console. It was on PlayStation, so I gotta open up my PlayStation app and see if I can find how many hours I logged into this thing. I know it was like 82% done. I don't think it'll tell you. Damn. No, last time I played it was quite a long time ago, but whatever. Point is, oh, people have texted me. No, no, didn't text. It's just friends that are online. I can't pass, I guess, anything around 400 or 500, and this is 400 or 500 hours during the course of several months. Like I don't even think it was a solid year of me playing. It was just like a good uh 3 4 months of like almost every day play, after work. And gotta make sure I say after work because I don't want you to think that I just sit in someone's basement and just play video games all day, although that sounds kind of cool. Kind of cool. Emphasis on kind of. Even games that I absolutely love and adore, I can't, like, like after a certain amount of time, especially with the fact that like the video game market is so saturated, right? It's oversaturated. Like I always tell this to I always say this to my friend. I'm like, it doesn't matter what you have. Like, it doesn't matter if you have a console, a PC, a mobile phone, some sort of portable device, whether it's a Steam, whether it's a Nintendo Switch, whether it's that LG shit that I don't even know. It's like a LG cloud streaming thing. Like, it doesn't matter what you have. There's a great video game in any platform you can think of. Even mobile. There's a lot of cool ass indie games that are awesome that are for mobile. And it's like we're so spoiled for choice right now that it literally does not matter what you have. You're gonna find a great game to play. And that's awesome. It's awesome that everyone has access, whether you're someone on the go, whether you're some sort of a PC enthusiast, whether you're someone of a casual console gamer, you're going to find a game that you can sink your teeth into and spend hours enjoying, which is great. It's a win-win for everyone, for business, for the corporations, and it's a win-win for consumers. Where was I going with this? I find myself having mixed feelings. I've already explained this at the beginning of this little thing. I are people How common is it for someone to drop 900 to 1,000 hours on a video game? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that is not most gamers. Right? Most gamers are playing casually, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't done 1 ounce of research on this, which is a recurring theme on my little show here, right? Like I should probably start doing a lot more research before I open up my fucking mouth. Anyways, I would assume that the average person does not play 1,000 hours of the same video game. I think that's just a special population, a special sliver of gamers of the whole gaming pie that plays that much. And it's funny because you'll have some people that would to them that's like chump hours. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I dropped 700 hours in this game. That's nothing. I've got another character and I'm ready to do another 700 hours, and I'm like, wow. That's like those people who like who would play MMOs. Like I got a coworker who would he would play these large scale MMOs like ESO and like New World, and and we all know MMOs, like, they never really finish technically. Like, you can ultimately play that game for as long as it remains in service. And some MMOs have been around for 7 10 years, so imagine. Anyways, he would sit there and dump hours after hours. I'm talking, 5 6 700 hours, and then just start a brand new character and then do everything he just did with the last character on this new character, because this new character has a, a different build, or, you know, I can't even I can't even justify that. You know what I mean? Like, is he doing it because he genuinely enjoys the game so much that he wants to just prolong it? Or, maybe he was playing the game and saw a build that he rather would do, so he created another character and started using that build. I'm pretty sure it's all of these things, but that blows my mind, because, like, if I've never played 700 hours in one single video game, but if I did, I would assume that I'm like, okay, I'm done. I kind of don't care what build it is. I don't care, if how cool that mission was. I'd rather not do it. I think 700 hours is enough. And look, man, to each their own. Like, seriously, like, if you're that person who, as long as you're living a constructive life, like you have a job or you have some sort of income, you might be disabled or whatever the case may be. And in that case, then, obviously you can't work. But as long as you are supporting yourself or someone else, and I don't have a problem with people playing a shitload of video games. If that's what they choose to do, of course I would urge them to, like, yo, go out from time to time and, walk around, get the blood pumping, exercise a bit, try to eat a little healthier. I would say stuff like that. But if you spend most of your time playing video games, that's cool. I would say I do. Like, there's always usually on my day off, I play a little more than usual, but but I almost play daily. Sometimes I do play daily for like weeks on end, but it'll be, 2 hours a night, and then, that's after work. But on days like today, for example, which I'm currently playing Disco Elysium, I want to talk about that game, but I'm not even sure I'm like halfway through the game. So I want to finish it, but so far I do like it. It's a little artsy sometimes. Like, I feel like I don't know, it comes off a little try hardish, if that's a word. But overall, it's pretty cool, and I hope I do finish it. Anyways, I is there a dark aspect to a gamer playing a video game for that much amount of time, right? Like, I'm sure if, like, a psychiatrist saw that little Billy logged in 1,500 hours in Elder Scrolls Online, he has to be worried. Like, Billy, like, do you have friends? Do you? And of course, a lot of times that is the case, right? The person's probably lonely, not healthy, does pretty antisocial, just inside of his home or his mom's home or whoever is supporting him. And, they're just sitting there just fucking taking in unhealthy doses of video games. Lots of times it's like that, but lots of times it isn't also, right? I would consider myself a constructive person. I work out, I try to eat good. I'm not in the fucking greatest shape, but I'm all right. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like fucking unhealthy or nothing. I'm sure there's a lot of gamers like me who kind of just go like, okay, I have my priorities, but, video games will always be a part of my life. But, I also do have priorities. I feel like lots of people, they're not too great on balancing that aspect. Like, some people, and not even outside of video games, like, you have, like, I've been in situations where, you would have best friends growing up, or, just people that you were close to, and then suddenly they would get married and just, completely forget about you, and vice versa. Like, I mean, I'm not married or anything, but there's times where, I'm doing stuff with my partner, and, I would have friends tell me like, "Hey, man, I haven't seen you in a while," and I'm just like, "Oh shit," like, it wasn't intentional. It was more just like, "Oh, my bad, dude. It was just we've been like traveling. Like, we just came back from like a Colorado trip recently, and I remember a while back, one of my friends told me that, like, I haven't seen you in a while. I was like, it was purely unintentional. Whatever. I don't know where I was going with this. What I'm saying is that I'm sure there are constructive people out there who happen to be gamers, and there's also people out there who are not constructive. If you're not constructive and you're not doing anything with your life, and you don't have a job, and you're playing video games all the time, we've got a fucking problem. There's no if, ands, or buts about that. You need to shape yourself up. Um, Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. No, what I'm saying is, of course, if you have like some sort of an issue, you know what I mean? Like, I hope you don't use it as a crutch, as lots of people do, sadly. They're kind of like, oh, I'm going through these mental episodes, so therefore I will not work. Or, you know what I mean? Like, some people kind of wield that. They use it as a crutch, they wield it as a weapon. And anytime someone asks them, like, yo, how come your life ain't in order? So hope you're not one of those people. But, that's just not related to video games, right? Sorry. What I meant to say is that is just not exclusive to video games, right? People using their illnesses as a crutch, like that's just anybody, and anyone who doesn't want to work, for example. I know personally someone I went to high school with who, it's no bullshit. He's slightly older than me, so he's approaching 40. And I don't think he's had a solid official job for more than a few months. No bullshit. Like, he's almost 40 years old, and I'm 100% sure he has not had any job for more than a year. I think that he kind of worked odd jobs. Like, he did some construction stuff with someone I knew. But anyways, point is, there are some people out there, and but if you talk to him, you would instantly know something's off. You know, like, he's like kind of autistic, I would assume. I'm not even sure, but something's off, and you go like, oh, okay, he's not the type of. You can't judge him by the way you would judge someone by regular standards. You know what I mean? Like, someone like me, if I was slacking off and I didn't have a job or anything, I would gladly love for someone to tell me like, "Dang, get your shit together. Like, nothing fucking is wrong with you. Get up." Maybe I needed a swift kick in the ass, maybe some motivation. I don't know. But it's a slippery slope, right? Because it's like anything you say out loud, there's always going to be someone there to have a counter ready. You can be like, hey, man, get yourself a job. What if he can't get himself a job? What if he's not doing well? What if he has mental illnesses? All right, well, what else is he supposed to do? Well, it's just society's fault. There's always someone, they're ready. They're waiting in the wings, just argumentative as hell, especially online, man. I personally don't understand how you get your kicks of making people feel like shit, but that's a thing. Now, to explore the dark side of people playing video games for so many hours, is that a mental illness? Come on. There's no way you can tell me that some of these players who log in over 1,000 hours don't have mental issues. Or if they don't have mental issues, they have social issues, right? They don't necessarily have a lot of friends or no friends, or maybe they don't have a lot of self-worth. I'm sure that's probably like the gamer stereotype, right? Like this fat, neckbeard, pimple faced, glasses wearing, Monster Energy, Doritos eating, fucking keyboard dude. Reminds me of that fat guy on South Park. I don't know his name, but he's like this gamer dude. So he's like leaning. His like his fucking double chins are like protruding out of his face, and he's playing keyboard games. That's like probably that's a huge stereotype for a gamer, you know what I mean? And to be perfectly honest, sometimes that shit is spot on. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's about right. But how much of that is mental illness, right? Like, how much of, like, if someone tells me, hey, I played a game for 1,500 hours, it's like, should I be worried, man? Like, I know obviously you're enjoying the shit out of yourself. And here's another thing. Sometimes they're not, right? Like, I would read Steam reviews for certain video games that I'm interested in. I would look at the hours that they logged in, 1,500 hours, 2,000 hours, 2,300 hours. I believe one of them had. And they'll give a negative review. They're like, oh, this game isn't that good, blah 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 blah. The updates messed it up. But I'm just like, bro, you can't play a game for 2,000 hours and then go, it's not for me. You're gonna. It took you 2,000 hours to come to that conclusion. You couldn't tell me that shit after like 5 hours. Like, yo, I gave this game one shot. I just gave this game an entire afternoon, bro. And I was just like, nah, that's fair. A good 5 hours. I mean, sure, it's not. There's nowhere near enough time to properly judge a game. That's for sure. But it is enough time for you to have a good gist of the game, at least a good gist of the mechanics or the gameplay. And some games are a little more slower than others, some a little more fast paced. But 5 hours, I think, is a solid time for you to give yourself, like, give a like a little preliminary opinion of a game. But how much of that is mental illness, and how much is that is other types of illnesses, antisocial behavior, or, maybe something darker. And also on the opposite end of the spectrum, how much of that is actually love, right? Like in my case, I can't speak for nobody else, but in my case, like I played Elder Scrolls Oblivion with love and obsession. Like it wasn't like, oh, I don't have any friends. I've had friends. I've actually like told friends I can't come out today because I didn't tell them I was playing the Elder Scrolls, but I'm like, hey, I'm busy. The classic, I'm busy. Then I'm downstairs fucking slaying orcs in a fucking dark cave. How many gamers, excuse me, on the opposite end of the spectrum, uh, uh, the opposite of mental illness, how many gamers just play those games because they love them and they're obsessed with them, like the same way I was with the Elder Scrolls? That wasn't a mental issue. Well, maybe it was, but it wasn't like, it wasn't because I was being antisocial or anything of the of the likeness. It was just because I loved the game so much. That's all I wanted to do. I would be out like whenever I would take breaks to go take a shower or go get something to eat, I would be eating, thinking about the game. Or I would be in the shower just being like, what can I do next? Like I gotta learn how to fight better, or I gotta learn how to. I'm getting my ass handed to me in this. Maybe I should come back later on. Uh, yeah. How much of it is mental illness? How much of it is just purely obsession? Maybe it's a mixture of all of that, And as humans, we love to compartmentalize, right? We like to look at things that we don't understand and make some sort of a judgment, whether it's a good judgment or a bad judgment, and then just shove it in a little corner inside of a box in our brains, right? Like that's what we do to move on with life, right? It's like we categorize everything, and unfortunately this happens a lot online with politics and with gender, identities, or someone told me recently that they don't call them gender ideologies, call them gender. I'm like, bro, I can't keep up with this shit. Like I can't. Like, no bullshit. And I'm not even trying to be funny. Like every day, it's something new with gender ideology, gender identity, gender prone. Like they're like, oh, 2 weeks ago you could have said it. You can't say it now. And I'm like, bro, first of all, is there a subscription letter? Like, is there like an email that someone can subscribe to so they can find out the ever changing rules of gender identity slash ideology slash whatever you want to call it? It's difficult, man. And no one should get faulted. No one should get faulted if they don't fucking know, but that's not the case. The people they're waiting in the wings. Like, actually, people have been identifying as objects for years, and I'm like, okay, I don't fucking know. Where was I going with this? Just like with everything in life, video games is no exception when it comes to just having a large player base, and not every single person in that player base is going to have the most modest intentions. Some of them are just they're cheaters, some of them are like grifters, some of them enjoy hurting others, which is like pretty sick, but that's a thing. And then some of them just want to play games and have fun. Some of them are casual. Some of them don't want to start arguments with you. They don't want to fuck with no one. They just want to play games. I would fall more on that category. And I wonder if like developers and publishers, like, do they have access to like I know they have access to the demographics of their user base, right? Like, let's say X game has 1 million players, right? Does the developer knows that 1 million people are playing their games, but how many of those 1 million people have issues? And when I say issues, it's like do they know like, okay, this percentage of our fan base are known cheaters, and this percentage of our fan base are known harassers, and this percentage of our fan base, are very anonymous. They don't really have any type of track record. Some may call it shady, some may say that they don't bother no one, so we leave them be. Like, does it go that in depth? I wouldn't doubt it. The algorithms are fucking great right now for social media, for YouTube, Twitter, and all that. Like, they're not perfect, obviously. I've seen lots of examples where the algorithms have, banned people for really no reason. And then, I've seen other reasons. I've seen algorithms help other people, people who were like on the brink of like self-harm, suicide, and they got reached out to, whether it was through the actual social media app they were using, or someone who noticed, you know. So I wonder how many developers have access to that type of information, and if they do have access to that information, imagine if you were like a developer that has 1 million people playing their video game, and like 700,000 of them are all cheaters and liars, and they created different accounts. Like you'd be like, yo, I got 1 million players, but 700,000 are all shitty. They're all shitty people. This game is played by shitty people. You know what I mean? Like, do they have access to that? Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Maybe they just have access to the important things, like how much money people are spending and how often they're playing their game. I'm not 100% sure of that. But just like with everything in life, right? Like, here's me gift wrapping it for you so you can compartmentalize and put it in a little attic in your head. Just like with video games, right? Like, even positive things, if you do them long enough, can actually hurt you. Exercising, if you run every single day 100%, that's not going to be good on your knees. It's not going to be good on your muscles, even though your intent was noble, right? Your intent was like, hey, I'm going to work out, and I enjoy working out. I like the feeling that running gives me. I like the feeling that I'm constructive. I like the fact that I'm losing weight. I love the fact that my mental health is improving as well as my physical self, but I'm overdoing it, and therefore, since I'm doing it too much, it's become actually a detriment. Like, it's a problem now. So video games, I feel, are the same thing. Like, here's a shocker: balance. Of course, like, find a balance between too much video games and too little video games. Like, kind of, I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to do that. Maybe like some sort of app. I'm sure there's an app out there that can monitor your use of things, because to go back to like the particular people who have mental issues, like some people have like an addictive personality, and they video games, shit, video games has all of the traits for addictive usage, right? Like even if you're not someone who's particularly addicted to things, like you're not particularly tempted to gamble or to have risky behavior, to use drugs, like even video games are enticing enough to hook you. You know what I mean? To have you, shunning your responsibilities to just continue playing this particular game or whatever. So, I would like to know. I would like to know, because I am in this world. I am in this world of video gaming, and which I love, and I've always loved since a kid. And here I am, almost 40 years old, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I can see myself slowing down, which I have a lot actually throughout the years. Like I said, there's some days where I only play for like 2 hours, but um my days off, I play a little longer. But point is, I see myself playing video games for as long as I can, and it would hurt my heart to know that the majority of video gamers are those type of people, right? Like those type of people who like to fuck with other people online and to harass people, and who are just like shitty people in general. Like, it would hurt to know that most of the demographic, most of the people that play video games in general are like that. To sound optimistic, it's like maybe that's not the way it is. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's just a small group of people who do this, and unfortunately, when you can have a giant group of people, and it's always like the small group of people who stand out because they're making the most noise. Like, like I heard once before, empty cans make the loudest noises. So it's like, I believe that 100% true. You can have 10 people in a room, and 8 of them could be satisfied with whatever's going on, but if 2 of them aren't, they're going to make the loudest noise, and they're going to get, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's always been one of my favorite ones too. Like, the people who bitch and moan and complain, and they're the ones that get catered to, and it's not fair, but that's the way it is, especially in corporate life, right? Like, I can 100% attest that to some of the jobs that I've worked. Like, I've been in situations personally where I have came in, did the best I can, didn't call out, wasn't late, finished all of my duties, and one person's complaining because they need to leave early, and I said that I'm not going to finish that person's job because I finished, like I was kind of standing up for myself, and next thing you know, I had to end up doing that job or I was going to get in trouble. Whatever. Point is, I was like, that's bullshit because you specifically catered to this fucking grown man throwing a temper tantrum like a child. And this has happened several times throughout my job, throughout jobs, like even stuff that doesn't involve me. I'm just a NPC here in the real world. And I would see friends or coworkers get in trouble for like shit that they weren't. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. Not get in trouble, but like I would see coworkers and friends and all that, like, and even just people I don't really know get catered to because they were complaining so much, so much. And I was like, wow, that sucks, and that's the way it is, and I wouldn't even know how to go about finding demographics like that. Like what kind of, and also like in other industries, right? Maybe not just entertainment or like video games or anything like that. Like, like what kind of people use Q-tips? Like what kind of people, like, hey man, fucking millions, 10 million people across the world use Q-tips. That's not an accurate number whatsoever. 10 million people across the world use Q-tips, right? How many of them are murderers? Wouldn't that be cool if you knew that type of like that type of information? Like, yo, did you know that 3 million people who use fucking Q-tips are fucking murderers? You're like, whoa, and how weird would be if like Q-tip as the organization. I think it's Charles Schwab, right? Was it him? This guy's an investor, I think. It's probably not even him. But like, how weird would it be if your product was associated with murdering and it's not? It has nothing to do with violence. Like that'd be weird. Anyways, I uh, I do hope that those that are logging in some serious hours to these video games, I do hope that they're fine. And if they're not, sometimes if they're not, I hope that they find some sort of help or some sort of voice that can kind of guide them through this process to get better, because sometimes you're in denial, man. I've been there. I've worked shitty jobs for years and I kept telling myself it's a good job, it's a good job, it's a good job. And I'm like, I should have left. I should have fucking left a long time ago because when I left, everything just made sense. I was like, this just feels so much better. This feels like it's right. I know that sounds corny, but you ever had a decision in your life where you felt like it was right? There's you can't prove it. You can say, oh yeah, this is the right move. You can say that, sure, but I'm talking about feeling right. Like you're like, oh, this is so much better. Like I should have done this a long time ago. Uh, Sometimes you get in that situation, and people who do play video games for a long time, it is kind of alarming unless, like I said, you're someone who does have their life in order. But how would you know? How would you know that? Peace, love, and until next time. Hopefully much sooner. I'm trying to annoy you guys with at least one weekly. And now that I'm saying it out loud, this has always been formulated in my mind. Like maybe I should do one of these things, these little podcast thingies. Feels weird even calling it that. I don't even know what the fuck this is. But I would like to do one of these weekly. It's been bouncing around in my head for a while, but I'm like, I don't want to say that shit and then just go right back to like just doing this like twice a month. But I think I'll be able to handle it. If not weekly, at least like one little episode every week and a half, maybe. But definitely, I'm gonna try at least to do an episode weekly, and definitely before 2 weeks. If that makes any sense. Thanks for listening, if you're listening, and I'll see you around, or hear you around, or something around.